Hello and welcome to Speakers on Edge. We're up for our 15 minutes of fame again today, and I've got a guest. This is Reese. Reese, who are you?
Well, I am Reese Sabatini-Blake, and I use my background in holistics and indigenous medicine and my training and experience on the front lines in social work to help people overcome trauma without the use of drugs or pharmaceuticals.
No drugs, no pharmaceuticals, all natural.
Yeah, I and we're not talking witchcraft here. I'm not gonna make you drink a tincture. We're just gonna help you actually work through your initial trauma and the baggage that you carry that is dictating the things that you feel today that you really just need to let go of.
Does it work?
It definitely works. I actually have a very high success rate with those who are neurodivergent and have not sought out success from traditional counseling of being handed a 10-page booklet where supposedly you'd be magically healed after working through the exercises and no longer have depression, anxiety, or PTSD. Actual trauma recovery and overcoming even things such as burnout requires rewiring your nervous system for a state of calm and peace that is manageable, that you can integrate into your day-to-day life.
But how can we rewire our nervous systems? Because the news, the politics, the family, the job, the food, the weather, the traffic, the shopping, the money. How do I rewire it? How can I? How?
Well, I'm gonna make it sound a lot simpler than it is, but you have to learn to only give energy and time and even thought to the things that are within your control. If you personally cannot fix it within a couple of minutes, you need to get it out of your head.
How can it be that simple?
Well, by an entire toolbox of tools to actually regulate everything from your breathing to learning how to control your mind so that you don't spiral out on everything you mentioned, from politics to bills and family and work, because that's overwhelming no matter who you are. But if you realize that you can control how you respond instead of just reacting to everything, you regain the control you have in your life.
So what you're saying, the secret is to respond and not to react.
It is a very big key, yes.
But reaction is this gut experience that just we see it every day in people. You poke them and they
That's where we have
or
to learn to be less antagonistic.
I'm trying to ask questions at the moment that are, well, typical for people. Because when we talk about natural healing and responding, it sounds unrealistic. What is it that we can do that when we're in that state of burnout, when we're in that state of chaos, when we're in that state of no control, what can we actually do to help
Well,
us respond rather than react?
The very first step to that is actually learning to pause before you take the moment and say that thing that's going to set off your counterpart or that's going to add fuel to the fire. You pause and you actually have to take stock of whether it's going to be helpful, it's going to add to the situation, or it's just going to continue to make things worse. And you can apply that to every aspect of your life, as simple as just taking a pause.
And how has taking a pause helped you?
Oh, I myself used to be quite the spitfire. I even could have been equated to a loose cannon. And learning how to take that pause has not just deepened the relationship I have with my own self and my nervous system, but it's helped create peace, harmony, and even better cohesion in all of my friendships and relationships, both in and outside of work.
And has it happened? Is it instantaneous, or is it over a period of time that we can see the results from taking that pause?
Depending on how explosive you are, you really do see the results start to creep in very quickly, but it still does take time. It's not all of a sudden, I'm choosing pause, and miraculously, your whole life changes. I
What?
mean, give it at least a couple of weeks before you say, wow, there's less tension in my life, and this is really nice.
See, the fun part about the pause is everyone else's reaction to you pausing. Now, I've been in the speaking industry for many years now, decades. And when I'm teaching people to speak and I say, you forget what you're saying? Pause. And they go, but I can't stand there and pause. And I go, you want the magic secret of every successful speaker when they've forgotten their lines or they've forgotten their speech or they've lost the plot of where they're at or they're nervous. Not one person in the audience will ever complain the speaker just had a glass of water. Is this a technique that could be used for everybody?
Yes, I it applies to everybody, and especially those of us that are in high stress workplaces and jobs. The ability to pause and remember that you are in control of your nervous system and you don't have to react.
Has this got anything that's detrimental to it? Because it seems to be, okay, I'm just going to pause, breathe, have a glass of water, and then I'm going to respond. What's the bad stuff? What can go wrong? What can screw up?
This is where you're also having to temper other people's reactions. And in that, there will be people that explode at that pause because they're expecting you to fight or give in. And they they eventually get used to it too. And if you're a recovering spitfire like myself,
I like that. Recovering Spitfire.
then you're probably going to a little sadistically enjoy their explosion while you're just sitting there being calmer than a sleeping baby.
Now, you just said something that you could sadistically enjoy that moment of their reaction. Is this manipulation?
No, it's maintaining your own control and letting the things around you happen.
But is it making you more passive?
No,
Is it
because
reducing your passion?
it can. It when you stop fighting with everything in your life and you learn to actually engage with intelligence and kindness and actually help the situations more than you hinder them, it it changes things for the better. And yes, those who like to remain in control of you and like seeing you spin out do not take it kindly at the beginning. But when they realize that the calmer you is a better you, they eventually get there.
Can we lose people because of it?
Um, for times, yes, but I've also seen those people circle back when they dealt with their own crap.
And there's the secret. You're dealing with your crap, they're dealing with their crap. And it doesn't necessarily happen at the same time, but by you responding. So, can you give me an example of something that happened to you that you responded to, but you really wanted to react to?
Oh, this would be a recent one, that was pretty relevant with, anyone who's living with a human being that they're not dating, and it would be this human's inability to do the dishes one day. And internally, I would have loved to have gone off, but instead, I took my pause. I actually even briefly walked away because I knew that I was gonna be a little bit of a cow if I didn't. And once I had calmed and regrouped, I didn't hassle the other human about dealing with our kitchen. I just dealt with the dishes myself because sometimes you really have to pick your battles. But the reactionary part of me would have loved to have sat there and thought about it,
what
still to
about
this day.
what about the resentment? Because
Uh,
those sorts of situations can create resentment.
I mean, in that one, we talked about it later. It was a calm and gentle adult conversation. But you also have to be willing to have those conversations without expectation of either side winning or even coming to mutual agreement, because as adults, we're going to disagree about things. But we also have to go back to the times where we could disagree about things and not have it control the rest of your relationship with a person.
Yeah. And this is where communication and open, honest, calm communication and it. So, do you help people have those calm communications?
But I do, actually. When working one on one with people, there can be a lot of role play, but there have even been times with clients where we brought in their spouse and we facilitated the conversation just from a mediation standpoint of, let me help you walk through this together because you're clearly not capable of seeing eye to eye at the moment and you just need a neutral party.
And so you act as that neutral party for people.
At times, yes. I don't generally lean into couples work, but when necessary.
So, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to somebody watching right now, what would be the most important piece of advice that they need to know and hear today?
No matter what tough situation you have at hand, what is the decision that's going to bring you closest to your desired outcome? That's the one you need to make.
What is the decision you can make that will bring you closer to your desired outcome? Ooh, that's a deep one. That's a deep one. And on that, how do we find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Trauma2Bliss, as well as trauma2bliss.ca.
And is that trauma with the number 2?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Yeah, I just wanted to get that. And we will also have your photo on our website, speakersonedge.com, and there'll be a button underneath it, and people can press that button and go to your site and contact you. This has been 15 Minutes of Fame. Thank you for being on the show. We'll see you all next time on Speakers on Edge.